it's me, Vicky Marie. And good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you are in this crazy world we're living in. Now, I'm an early bird this morning. I wanted to give you some good news from the world of crime. We don't often get very good news, do we? Though last year, we've had quite a lot of justice, I think, one way or another, hoping that this is going to carry on into this year. Now, who I'm going to talk about in this video is Rachel Morin. Rachel Morin, we followed Rachel's case from the very horrible beginning right through to when finally the person responsible or allegedly responsible for the murder of Rachel was finally caught. Now, Rachel was just walking on a hiking trail in Maryland, in America. She was walking the hiking trail, the Morin Trail in Maryland, and her life was snuffed out by, a not very nice person, let's say. I think the less thing said about him is probably the better. But his name is Victor. He has finally been caught after a very long manhunt, where it looked like it must have felt like to Rachel's family that he was never going to be caught, because months went by, almost a year went by. Anyway, he finally was caught, and he was caught by good police work, and he is now incarcerated in Maryland, where the sheriff has said he wants him to stay forever. There is no death penalty, so there won't be a death penalty, which is a shame in a way, because although I don't actually agree with the death penalty, Victor, he's a fledgling serial killer, because Victor had already killed somebody in his native where he'd come from, in El Salvador. He'd already killed somebody. Who knows if he's killed anybody else. He'd also brutally attacked a young girl in Los Angeles. That's where his DNA, he left behind his cap, and that's where his DNA was found and matched with the DNA of Rachel's killer. So he's been caught, he's in prison. But of course, he's not cooperating, because this man, he's not, he doesn't care about anybody's feelings. He could make things easier for the family. Can't take back what he's done. They cannot have Rachel back. But he could make things easier, but he won't be making things easier. In fact, if anything, he's just making things more difficult. So all he's done from day one is tried to delay the trial. And another thing he tried to do was change the venue, because he was saying, and his defense team are saying, he will not get a fair trial in Maryland, in that area. So, of course, the thought of changing the trial venue, that would make things very complicated for Rachel's family, because when trial venues are changed, it means that the family, to attend the trial, they have to displace themselves to a completely different state. And, it's all right for the defendant. He gets taken there, doesn't he? And all his expenses are paid for. But the family have to, this is what happened with Madeline, wasn't it? When her trial, he is a murderer. I can call him a murderer now because he was found guilty. Madeline Kingsbury, her partner, ex-partner, Adam Fravel, successfully got a change of venue for his trial. Didn't help him, he was still found guilty, but it did make things much more difficult for her family to go and attend the trial. So we're going to have a look at, it has been denied as far as Victor's concerned. So a little bit of good news. So let's have a look at some of the news, how the news are presenting this. Now, I just want to say here in the middle, we're going to go to the beginning of this video, but this is Matt. He's the father of her oldest child and now a grandfather, because Faye, his and Rachel's child, that they had together, has had a baby. So that's some good news that they had in the later end of last year.
The judge heard 3 hours of arguments for and against 5 different defense motions. 2 were essentially tossed. The judge reserved rulings on 2 others, and she denied the defense change of venue motion, which was the big one for the family of the victim.
I am happy, as I think everybody standing with me is happy, that the change of venue was denied. We want this to stay here.
The trial of Rachel Morin's accused killer stays in Harford County. It was the first decision handed down by the judge during the motions hearing on Friday. And as far as Rachel Morin's family members are concerned, it was the most important ruling of them all. Matthew McMahon is the father of Rachel Morin's daughter, Faye, the oldest of 5 siblings.
I've lived in Harford County my whole life, almost my whole life. I trust the sheriff's department. I trust the detention center. So I'm thrilled that it's staying here, and I was worried that maybe it was going to get moved.
The defense argued pretrial publicity has tainted Harford County's jury pool, making a fair trial impossible. Lawyers said the case has garnered national attention, fueled in part by comments from now President Donald Trump. The state countered, by the defense's own admission, there is no one anywhere who hasn't heard about this case. And the judge agreed. Change of venue denied.
The bottom line is the family's very happy today because the biggest issue was the change of venue.
The judge reserved ruling on 2 other defense motions, one in attempt to block a possible jury field trip to the alleged scene of the crime, the popular Mon Pa Trail in Bel Air, and a second one regarding forensic genetic genealogy. Randolph Rice is the attorney for Patty Morin, Rachel Morin's mother.
The comment that Patty had was, it's just sad that we have to be here today. But now we know that this is going to be going to trial in April.
So, yeah, the trial has been, delayed and delayed. This is like a tactic probably by this guy, though. Why? I don't know. Now, the thing is, there's DNA. It's difficult to escape from DNA, isn't it? So it seems likely that he's, I shouldn't say that really. I suppose this is the whole point of it. Maybe he has been sort of hung, drawn and quartered before the trial even happens. But that's because of evidence. He wasn't arrested for nothing. I mean, there is Donald Trump, like was just said there. I don't know what state in America they could move it to where it wouldn't be known about anyway, because Donald Trump made it like a political issue by, against immigration, because it turned out that Victor had this, he'd actually killed somebody in his own country. He had a red letter sort of, warrant out for his arrest, but somehow he managed to get to into the United States. But he tried a few times, and in the end, he snuck in there illegally. But of course, this Rachel's case and also Lake and Riley's case, these were big, horrible crimes committed by illegal immigrants, were used for political capital, whether rightly or wrongly, but they were used. And so where they're going to hold it, that people won't have heard of it. It was a national case. It's an international case. They could bring it to Spain. And, if I was called for the jury, I'd know about it. These sort of cases. Anyway, it shouldn't depend on who knows about it. The thing is, the jury has to look at the evidence in a trial. And if the evidence is there, they will find a guilty verdict. And if the evidence isn't there, they won't.
The defendant may have implicated himself when he sat down with law enforcement for an hours-long interview conducted in Spanish. That detail was revealed by the defendant's own lawyers during an unsuccessful push for the state to send out all that video footage to have it professionally translated ahead of the trial, which starts in April. Reporting live from Bel Air tonight, I'm Kate Amara, WBAL TV 11 News.
I'd be interested to see that footage and see what the thing is as well. I do think he used the language card. I think he speaks maybe not perfect English, but I think he speaks English. I noticed where on the arrest videos, he understood. You could see that you can just tell when someone understands or not. But yeah, maybe his English isn't perfect, so he was given an interpreter. So I'll be interested to see that video and interpret, to translate it myself, to be honest. Okay, let's have a look at another way that this has been reported in the news. Pardon.
The immigration debate continues across the nation and in Maryland. In Annapolis, lawmakers are speaking out against Donald.
Yeah, so this is, of course, Donald Trump is now president. He has, done he's made quite a lot of inroads already on immigrants, etc., caused, quite a lot of a stir, hasn't he? But part of the reason was this man. This is Victor the Viper. I call him, and he's a horrible man. He's only in his early 20s. I mean, apart from the fact he looks so much older, how many more women was he going to kill? He wasn't going to stop there. He'd already killed 2 women and brutally attacked 1 little girl. That's what we know of. We don't know. Maybe he's already done other crimes. But, he wasn't going to stop there, was he? So well done stopping this man.
Donald Trump's new immigration policy. They're debating an emergency bill that would limit where immigration agents can make arrests. ICE in Maryland says the controversy is based on misconceptions about how federal agents operate. It comes amid new developments in the case against Rachel Morin's accused killer. Today, a judge ruled Victor Martinez Hernandez's trial will stay in Harford County. His attorneys have requested a change of venue. Morin's family is now.
Gosh, do you remember that video of him coming out of that house where he'd attacked that little girl? Very misleading video, I think. You still can't, even though now I know who it is, I can't look at that video and associate the two at all. And then, of course, a photo fit was released. And to be honest, that was not very good, I don't think. But anyway, there you go. Photo fits are a problem, aren't they? So, gosh. So this man, had already murdered in El Salvador. That's what he was running away from. And then he came, and poor Rachel just, it's not clear yet whether he actually targeted Rachel specifically or he was just waiting for a woman. And unfortunately for Rachel, she was in the wrong place at the wrong time. So Rachel, a beautiful woman, only in her 30s, mother of 5 children whose lives have been turned upside down. So the sooner that this man is brought to justice, the better.
Preparing for what's next.
I'm going in there mentally preparing myself to not get emotional because I'm worried if I can't handle this, then I'm not going to be able to do the trial.
Oh,
we have team coverage tonight, beginning with
oh dear me.
Hill, who spoke with the father of Morin's oldest daughter after the ruling.
Matthew McMahon was inside that courtroom today, just feet away from Rachel Morin's alleged killer when the judge handed down that decision. He says he's thankful, but he knows there's still a long trail.
So it must be so difficult to actually be there, and that man is right there in front of you, and someone is that that what he's done to someone you love. So difficult.
To justice inside a Harford County courtroom, a closer step to justice for Rachel Morin.
Well, I was feeling hope and anxiousness.
Circuit Court Judge Yolanda Curtin denying a motion for a change of venue for her accused killer, Victor Martinez Hernandez.
We were hoping that the trial was going to stay.
Hernandez's defense team requested that change of venue earlier this month, citing concerns their client would not receive a fair trial. Inside the courtroom on Friday, Matt McMahon, the father of Rachel's oldest daughter.
We're familiar with the courthouse here, the sheriff's department, and we just feel that justice should be served where things happened.
In her ruling, Judge Curtin said that pretrial publicity has not been damaging to Martinez, despite numerous stories in the media.
I am eternally grateful to all the media. Without media attention, I do feel like all the media attention helped keep law enforcement motivated.
Rachel's case gained national attention at the Republican National Convention during the 2024 election.
This was described as among the most brutal and violent offenses.
It's a balancing act.
Trial attorney Alex Rosenberg.
It's going to kind of be useless to move it from one county to another due to the degree of high publicity nationally that this has had.
Weighing in on what may have played into the judge's decision.
There's some parameters such as sequestering a jury, for instance. Are there other things that possibly you could do in order to have a fair trial in that county?
And the other factors that may have affected prosecution.
Because there is a cost in having to move it to another county and then have, the prosecutor and the witnesses and all that then go to another county.
Yeah, it just feels, doesn't it, that these perpetrators, they have so many rights. I know that's the society that we live in, and it's good because someone is innocent till proven guilty, etc., etc. But, this judge, it seems like they may be taking the family's wishes into account. It can't be good for any members of Rachel's family for this case to go to another state. It's got to be, a positive result that's kept in the state that they all know and they feel comfortable in. Why should why should he get the right to do that? Also, it's just delaying the trial over and over again.
Sentiment shared by McMahon.
It definitely would have been a lot more difficult because I would have had to take more time out of my day to travel down there.
Meanwhile, Martinez is due back in court March 31st for a pretrial conference. Jury selection is scheduled for April 1st.
It is my intention to attend every day of the trial.
While the wait for justice continues,
I can't emotionally handle these small hearings.
McMahon is preparing for what's next, no matter how hard of a case it will be to hear.
How am I going to make it through a trial when all of this evidence is introduced, and that evidence is going to be so much more difficult to face than a simple motion hearing?
This change of venue request is actually the second delay. Martinez's original trial was set for October of last year, but his defense attorneys needed more time, they say, to look at evidence. In Baltimore, Vincent.
Yeah, so the trial was actually supposed to be October, so it could have all been done and dusted by now, couldn't it? But instead they've had to wait. Okay, let's have a look at another news report on it. Anyway, no matter how long, personally, I think, no matter how long he delays it, at the end of the day, if the evidence is there, he won't escape justice.
Accused of killing Rachel Morin will stand trial in Harford County after a judge rejected a defense motion to move the trial. That was just one of several motions taken up in court today, and Dennis Valera, he was there. He joins us now in studio. So the defense was worried about getting an impartial jury if it stayed in Harford County, Dennis?
Yes, Denise, that's right. The defense argued given the notoriety of the case, it'd be very difficult to pick jurors, something the judge and also a state prosecutor dismissed in court.
Rachel Morin's family is glad her case is staying where she lived.
We want this to stay here. I live a couple miles down the street. I would rather drive a couple miles than a couple counties. I also trust the process here. I feel like I know this town. I've lived in Harford County my whole life, almost my whole life.
In his argument, one of Victor Martinez Hernandez's public defenders says the case is high profile and its political nature would make it hard to find a fair jury in Harford County. This case entered the national immigration conversation after it was revealed Martinez Hernandez is an undocumented immigrant. He was arrested 10 months after Morin's death. In response to the defense, the judge says voir dire, the jury selection process, is enough to weed out potential biases, adding knowing about a case and living near where the crime in question happened are not disqualifying factors. A state prosecutor agreed with the judge, saying there's no, quote, blatantly prejudicial information out there about Martinez Hernandez. Outside the courthouse, attorney Randolph Rice shared a comment from Morin's mother, Patty Morin.
Comment that Patty had was, it's just sad that we have to be here today. But now we know that this is going to be going to trial in April.
Other motions brought up Friday mostly dealt with evidence in the case, including a motion to bring the jury to see the crime scene in person during the trial. Rulings are still pending on some of these. Rice says now it's just preparing the family for trial.
We know this is going to be a long trial, so it's something they're going to have to sit through. Now, unfortunately, they're going to hear all about the gruesome facts, which is going to be tough for them.
Yeah.
The trial is scheduled for April 1st. Back to you.
Yeah, the best thing that man could do is plead guilty so that the family don't have to go through all the gory details, which they will have to. And that will be hard. And, you know, it just will be hard. It'll be so difficult. You know, so if he had anything, he hasn't got anything about him. I don't believe he has got any human, you know, he's just not, to me, you know, just the way that he did it, and then the sort of the fact he'd done it before, and then the attack in Los Angeles would suggest to me that he's not going to have any feelings of remorse. All he'd be thinking about is making it as difficult as possible, and for the family, he won't care. He did it, you know, he doesn't have that empathy. He's got to be some sort of a psychopath, hasn't he, to have done what he's done. So anyway, I just thought I'd let you know that. So it is good news. The judge has made the decision that the trial will be held in Maryland, which is what all the family wanted. I would think there's nobody that would have apart from Victor, that would have wanted that case to be heard in another state. And he's been denied that. And good, you know, I hope that's, you know, the first in a long line of him realising he can't always get his own way. Anyway, I'm off. So I'll see you really soon in the next video. Thanks for watching. Thank you for caring about Rachel. And I will see you really soon in the next video. And until then, may your God go with you. Oh, and I'm going to I've got a little, I just want to show this little tribute to Rachel to end before I put my end video on. Oh, and in fact, let's light a candle for Rachel. For Rachel and her family. You know, her children that have lost her, and her grandchild, who unfortunately never got to meet her unless they met in the pre-life, because I think they might have done. Anyway, thank you so much. May your God go with you. Bye.